All right, so Zillow just launched something new called Preview, and honestly, it's making some huge waves in real estate. You've got one camp saying it's a game changer for homeowners, but then you've got another group raising some pretty serious alarms. So yeah, let's get into it and see what's really happening here.
So what's this all really about? I mean, the core question is this: who is actually benefiting from this new tool? Is this really about giving home sellers more power and more choice? Or is it more of a strategic move by Zillow that could end up fracturing the whole market?
Okay, so before we dive into all the drama and the back and forth, let's just get on the same page. What is Zillow Preview anyway? So Zillow Preview is all about what they call pre-market listings. You can think of it like a movie trailer for a house. It lets certain real estate companies show off a home on Zillow before it goes up on the MLS, the multiple listing service, that giant shared database that pretty much every agent relies on to see what's for sale. The whole idea is to build up some hype before the official release.
Now, this is where the story gets really juicy. The reaction from Zillow's biggest competitors. And the first one up is Compass. And their response was, well, it was a real roller coaster.
Okay, check this out. On day one, the CEO of Compass, Robert Reffkin, he comes out and publicly praises Zillow, says it's all about giving sellers more choice. The very next day, Compass drops a lawsuit they had against Zillow. You'd think that's the end of it, right? But nope. Just a couple of weeks go by, and the president of Compass does a complete 180, saying this new tool actually hurts sellers. Wild.
And that's really the heart of it, right? This massive contradiction. The CEO says, "Thank you, Zillow, for giving homeowners more choice." But his own president turns around and says, no, this hurts sellers. It just helps agents get an advantage. I mean, that kind of whiplash from a top competitor really tells you how messy and high stakes this whole thing is.
But look, Compass is just one piece of the puzzle. Zillow actually rolled out Preview with some major partners already on board. So why'd they do it? Their reasons are just as interesting.
So it turns out everyone had a slightly different reason for signing on. You've got Keller Williams, who are framing this as a philosophical thing. They're all about seller choice. Then you have United Real Estate, which is being super practical, saying, hey, this gets more houses on the market, and we need that. And then there's Side, whose reason was, let's just say, a little more pointed.
And Gary Keller, the co-founder of Keller Williams, he really leaned into this idea of choice. He basically said, look, his job is to lay out all the options, and at the end of the day, the seller gets to decide how they want to market their own home. It's a really compelling argument. But then you get this moment of incredible honesty from Side CEO Guy Gale. He basically came right out and said they didn't partner with Zillow because they think it's good for the market, or for buyers, or even for sellers. Nope. They did it for one reason: to get a leg up on their competitor, Compass. That's it. It was a purely strategic move.
So, while some big companies were seeing a new opportunity here, the industry's regulators and old guards were seeing a massive problem. And they started putting out some pretty stark warnings about where this could all be heading. The Council of Multiple Listing Services, the CMLS, they did not hold back. Their argument is that when you start hiding listings in these little exclusive silos, you weaken the whole market. You move away from this open, transparent system where everyone has the same information and towards something way more fragmented and messy.
And their whole philosophy is pretty simple, really. It boils down to this: markets just work better when all the information is out there for everyone. The rules should be the same for everybody. And agents, well, they should be competing based on how great their service is, not on who has access to some secret list of houses.
And here's the part that's really got lawyers and regulators sitting up and taking notice. Any brokerage that signs on for Preview has to agree to send those pre-market listings exclusively to Zillow. That one word, exclusively, is like a giant blinking red light for anyone worried about antitrust issues.
Which brings us to this amazing quote from Art Carter. He's the CEO of the biggest MLS in the US, and he says, "It feels like bizarro world to be going through all this again." But what does he mean by again?
Well, he's actually talking about a huge lawsuit from back in 2004. The Department of Justice went after brokerages for rules that let them hide their listings from certain websites. The government said it was anti-competitive, and Carter is basically looking at Zillow's new exclusive deals and saying, hey, doesn't this look awfully familiar?
So it really makes you wonder, right? With these new exclusive deals popping up, are we just watching the entire industry walk straight back into a legal minefield that it's already had to deal with once before?
Okay, so we've heard from the corporations, the rivals, the regulators. But what does all of this actually mean for you? The person just trying to buy or sell a home. Let's boil it all down.
It really comes down to two totally different visions for the future. On one side, you have the supporters who say this is about giving sellers more control, more options, kind of like a private runway to test out the market. But on the other side, you have the critics warning that this will shatter the market, that your house will be seen by way fewer buyers, and that agents will just compete over who has the most secret listings, not who's the best agent.
And this is the key takeaway, I think. This isn't just some abstract fight between a bunch of big companies. How this all shakes out is going to directly affect how transparent and how fair the process is when you're trying to buy or sell what's probably the biggest investment of your entire life.
So it leaves us with this final nagging question. If every single company starts building its own little walled garden of exclusive listings, what happens to the idea of an open market? And in that kind of world, where everything is about who you know and what secret information you have access to, does anyone really win? The buyer, the seller, or even the agent? It's a lot to think about.